Hello and welcome to this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me, where we focus less on the dis and more on the ability of what we can do. Join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live on www.letgoradio.net and on Facebook Live, where I always say, if you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. It is I, D to the J with the roll away, and it's time once again for My CP Does Not Define Me, episode 51. And 51, although an odd number, I do not have an odd guest. I have a great guest. He's a wonderful individual. We were talking a little bit about Miss Cindy before the show, and we were going to have her on last week, but I was very sick and the show didn't happen. So let me go ahead and bring her in. And I'd like to welcome Miss Cindy to the show. Miss Cindy, thank you so much for being here. And welcome to My CP Does Not Define Me, episode 51.
Thanks for having me.
I tell you, you and I have been friends for a long time now. You've been part of our cerebral palsy group, and I love your story. I love the stories that you tell. I love your personality. You're just a great individual. If you would just tell our viewers and our listeners on Let Go Radio and on Facebook Live just a little bit about yourself, and we'll get into the show from there if you don't mind.
Okay. I have mild cerebral palsy and I'd say very mild epilepsy. Okay. So I figure, okay, I got kind of lucked out by having got both, but it's very mild, so I can deal with that.
Okay. Now you and I were just talking a little bit before the show, so some of these questions, we kind of got into a little bit. You were saying that you got epilepsy when you were 6 years old.
Yeah, I had one right after I was born, but then I wasn't diagnosed until I was 6.
Okay. And when were you diagnosed with cerebral palsy?
At birth.
Mm-hmm.
That was at birth, yeah.
So it was straight. Okay.
Yeah. So I figured, okay, my mom got used to one before another one was added to it.
Okay. Right. So now you're able to walk around and get around. Is walking a challenge for you? What kind of challenges do you face with your cerebral palsy?
Well, with my cerebral palsy, I really can't walk that far because then my hips start hurting, and I have cerebral palsy on the left side, so it's usually my left hip that'll start hurting.
So your cerebral palsy doesn't affect both sides; it's just the one.
It's just the left side.
Do you use like a walker or a cane or anything like that?
I started using a cane.
Mm-hmm. And how has that been for you?
That really has worked out. It helps with my balance.
Do you use the cane that swivels, or does it have the standing base on the bottom?
It has the standing. Yeah, it's more like a walking stick.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I'm not bent over. It reminds me, I think of it as a ski pole. That's what it reminds me.
And a lot of them are so skinny now, and they've done so much with, instead of the big clod hopping ones that are, 6 sizes too big, and you gotta, lift 20 pounds of metal. They're easier to deal with. Do you find that you can go further with the cane? Does the cane help you with distance?
No, not really. It just kind of helps that I'm not so wobbly.
Well, to be wobbly is not necessarily a bad thing, but to be, I guess, less wobbly is
less wobbly. Yeah, that's better.
Easier to deal with. We want to welcome everybody to the show as you guys come in. Hey, Nikki. Hey, Josh. Hey, Kimberly. Thank you all for coming in. We appreciate it. Episode 52. Wow, 52 episodes. No, 51. 51 episodes of My CP Does Not Define Me. I'm jumping ahead of myself. So now you, to back up a little bit, You were with a caregiver for a while, or and got into independent living. How did
No,
that happen?
no, I hadn't had a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
I was living independently, and then a couple of years ago, I fell and got a concussion
Mm-hmm.
and broke my toe. So that's when we decided that it was time for me to live somewhere where, independent living instead of being on my own.
Right, right. To where you can actually have the help that you need.
Yeah.
What was that decision like for you? How did you come to grips with it? I mean, what was the conversation like?
Well, let's see. My sister is the only one that lives close to me now, so
Mm-hmm.
we just kind of decided, okay, it's time to move somewhere where someone will keep an eye on you, can help you with things. And we actually went to my physician, and um, she brought it up. And my sister looked at me like, "Oh, you really want to do that?" I said, "Yeah," because I knew it was going to happen eventually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now you did it to kind of favor your sister because of how you felt, correct? With
Well,
what was
yeah,
going
because she is the one that was really keeping an eye on me and helping me with my rides and stuff.
on. Mm-hmm.
But I knew this was going to happen at some point in my life.
So you basically wanted to, take the pressure off of her
Yeah,
and say,
because
look, this is something that I need to do for myself because I want to be able to function by myself, but with help.
yeah.
And that's a big step. And people, they, you hear a lot of people say, I felt like I was a burden, or
Hmm.
I felt like this happened because everybody had to do, a lot of things for
Hmm.
me. I had to make a decision for myself. I'm happy that your decision worked out because there's so many places that you go or that you can get to, such as nursing homes, independent living centers,
Hmm.
all these places, and they advertise they're really good and they're gonna do this
Hmm.
and they're gonna do that, and you get in there and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, you know. So what was the moving experience for you? What was the transition of I'm with my sister, she's helping me, I've got rides to where I need to go. Now it's the independent living center. What was that transition like for you?
Well, it was really interesting because I moved during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's like I really didn't see how this place was really like when I first moved in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because for the first 4 days, I'd stay in my apartment,
Mm-hmm.
and then they slowly started. We could start playing games again, and then just recently we've had to not have any gatherings, no playing games, no going to the dining room because someone tested COVID
Positive.
positive for COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
So how would you rate where you're staying? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? Is it
I like it because it has a homey feeling.
hmm,
It's not so, let's see, hot. It doesn't feel like you're in a hospital.
that's got to be a great feeling. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
because if I go anywhere, if I get to that point and I'm like, all right, I need help, but I want to live on my own. I
Hmm.
don't want the bed and the curtain and the
Yeah.
disinfectant floors and the whole. Ugh. I couldn't do that. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, do you want to just put me out of my misery now? Like, so it has the house feel. You've got, the you're in a one bedroom, right? This is as
Yeah.
far.
Well, it's a studio apartment.
Oh, nice. So you have your own kitchen and everything like that
Well,
too.
it's I'd say it's like a kitchenette. It has a refrigerator, sink,
Okay.
and yeah, and shelves. Yeah. So
I
I
love
think it's nice. It's like I don't like cooking anyway.
I love your shelf in the background with your teddy bears, and so that is cool, man. But I get the homey feel that you're talking about because when you live somewhere for the rest of your life, or for with you, as long as you're going to live there, you want to feel safe. You want to feel like you're coming into your home,
Yeah.
and this gives you that feeling. It's
Mm-hmm.
yeah. When did you how long did it take you to get used to the, okay, this is where it is now, this is what we do, lunch is at this time, dinner's at this time? How was it getting used to that?
Yeah, well, when it felt like home, when I started putting my pictures up, it's like, okay, now it feels like home. And then I had to get used to the caregivers coming in to see what I wanted for my lunch. And since I usually have my seizures in the morning, I don't go to the dining room for breakfast. I don't want to show off my seizures.
Right. No, I understand. So will they bring your breakfast to you?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they bring it to my room.
So can they just walk in at any time?
They knock before they come in.
That's awesome. So they give you courtesy. So what's your staff like? Are they courteous? Are they kind? Are they?
Yeah, they're nice, and it's like some look at this like a job, and then some of them want to be your friend. So I just kind of figured out, okay, which ones are what. So the ones that are friendly, I'll joke with them.
So you have, and we talked a little bit about that, as far as you don't want this to be a job. This is a lifestyle for you. Yeah. This is how things are. You're in what you're in. You've got the hand that you're dealt, and you're doing what you've got to do. And I would think, that's how you want people to be. It's not, it's not hard to say, my name's Cindy, but I still live, I still function.
Yeah.
So what is, I guess one of my big questions is, what's a normal day like for you? Are you able to go grocery shopping and things like that?
No, I don't go grocery shopping. Let's see. I haven't been out since my last. Let's see. I go and get pedicures and manicures, and then I have my doctor's appointments. Yeah, I really don't go out that much because my sister will pick up things that I need from the store. So, yeah.
So your sister is still involved in some of the care. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't feel like it's all on her now.
Right, because it's much lighter. It's much there's not a have to sense. It's more of a, okay, she's here. She can maybe do one or two things if I need her to, but there's not, oh God, I have to rely on her for everything. Yeah.
And I know her and her husband like to travel. And for 7 months I lived with her and her husband because it was in between when she moved me out of my place, my other apartment, and then I moved in here. So it's like that in between stage. So and I did not like that.
Was there a state of when the caretaking was happening all the time with your sister? Was there a state of, this is awkward? Because
when I lived with them, it was. Because
I would, in all my life, I only have CP, and it's when I hate asking for help with stuff. I do it because I know I need it, but in the same sense, I'm like, oh, if I just, the normal, function can go.
Oh, I know that feeling. Yeah. I didn't like that either but I just kind of got used to, I'll do what I can do. And then when I need help, I will ask.
As you were growing up, what was your childhood like?
My parents really, not really pampered me, but I thought they treated me more like all the other kids. But you ask my siblings that, and they go, no, you were really pampered.
So, and sometimes siblings see that. How many siblings?
I have 2 sisters and 1 brother.
Oh wow! So you had three, okay, and you had both
Yeah.
the
Well, I
brother
did
and
have four, but one passed away. So I had a
the.
brother that passed away. So
Hmm.
yeah. Now my brother that passed away, he when I started going to public school, my dad had him keep an eye on me. So there weren't any to make sure no one was going to tease me.
Right.
And one boy did. And now it sounds really mild because he just walked behind me with a fake limp. And my brother turned him into the principal. He got in trouble. So I didn't find that out till years later.
Well, and siblings are most of the time going to stick up for you. I can remember
Yeah.
instances where my brother stuck up for me. It was very honorable, because no one's going to hurt the people we care about. So are you and your sister close in age?
She's 5 years older than I am, and then I have a sister in California that's 4 years older,
Okay.
and then my other brother is 6 years younger.
Are you close with all your siblings? Do you get a chance to talk with them?
No, not really. Let's see. One that I'm closest to is the one that
Mm-hmm.
lives here,
Mm-hmm.
and then my sister in California. It's like I'll try to keep in touch with her like every so often,
Okay, so
just to see how she's doing.
you talk to her, but it's not like the fried chicken dinner and
Oh
all
no,
that.
no.
Yeah, I gotcha. So how did you have an IEP in school? What was school life like?
I don't think so. I don't, since I really don't remember when I was a kid, with all the medications that I was on for my cerebral palsy, for
Mm-hmm.
my epilepsy. It's like there are very few things that I'll remember.
Right.
I'm blaming it on that.
No. I mean, like I told you, I had a friend that was all through middle school, all through high school. We were best friends, and he knew what he wanted to do. He knew what he wanted to be. And what was, as you were growing up, what did you want to do in school? Like, what did you want to be?
After being in special ed, I wanted to be a physical therapist when I got older.
Okay.
And then as I got older, I've been in school since I was 3 years old. I don't want to go back to school.
The honesty is the best policy. And I know. Now, did you stay in school past 21?
I graduated when I was 20
Mm-hmm.
because when they put me into public school, I was like a year older
Mm-hmm.
than the kids in my grade. So yeah, it was interesting.
I honestly, did you have any like really good childhood friends as you were growing up that you?
As I was, yeah, I did have some,
Mm-hmm.
not very many because I let's see. Well, they were afraid that I was going to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So once they got to know me, it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
just
that's
like everyone else.
that's the thing. Once you get to know Cindy, there's such a sweet side to her. She's a great listener, and you'll ask her a question and she'll answer it, but and then there's not much after that. Like it's there, and I'm like, you can talk more. She's like, well, no, I don't. That's why I love having this conversation, because having guests on the show like this, I know a lot of stuff, but then coming from the perspective of Cindy, you learn so much more, because again, she deals with it every day, and her CP is different. Her epilepsy is different. She has, you were saying, one of the milder cases of epilepsy. Now
Yeah.
you have a stimulator. What is it called again?
Vagus nerve stimulator.
The vagus nerve stimulator, and that is to help reduce and try to stop your seizures as much as they can.
Yeah.
How did that come about, and what was that like?
The neurologist that I've been seeing, he just happened to mention it, bring it up, because just trying to, instead of putting me on another medication, he thought he'd mention that. Going at first, I don't think I want to do that. Mm-hmm. But of course, my sister, well, you're getting older, so really didn't want to do any more falling. So that was another thing. But okay.
How much research was done into this before you decided to do it?
Well, he had learned it. Let's see. I think my sister researched it, and it's been around for 20 years. But none of my other neurologists have brought it up.
Now you've had, like you said, you were saying earlier, you were diagnosed with epilepsy when you were 6 years old.
Yeah.
And you've always had a very mild case of epilepsy. Is that
right? When I was 6, that's when I had a seizure, and then that's why I was diagnosed then.
Mm-hmm. You know, and I've got to say, the thought of your neurologist wanting to put you on the vagus nerve stimulator instead of more medication, I think that's a smart idea, because I think so many of these medications nowadays have so many side effects and
that's why I didn't want to try it.
I can remember my friend, his name was David, but David Evans, but they call him Bubba. He was on a couple of medications, and they drain him. They they make you so tired. Not to mention the epilepsy after he would have a seizure. He would be tired and have to sleep, an hour and a half to get his energy back. Now we discussed a little bit about, your epilepsy, and one of the things I kind of want to get into, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
You're fully aware of what's going on when you have a seizure.
Yep, I am.
And I'm going to be honest, you are one of the first people I have ever heard say that, because most people that I know that have epilepsy is when they have a seizure, that part of their brain, it is blacked out. Like they don't know what's going on. Now, Nikki asked a question as far as the vagus nerve stimulator. Is it medically implanted?
Yes, it is.
Okay. What was that? Was that an operation, or what did that take? What was that involved with?
Yeah. See, it goes right above the collarbone, the battery, and then there's a what's it called? A wire that goes up to the neck, the vagus nerve. Then every 5 minutes it goes off, as you can tell, because that's when my voice changes.
Yeah, I had never really heard it, because a lot of times, unless you're really paying attention, you're just right on in there, and I'm like, what was that? So I just recently, before we got on the show, I went, oh my God, I heard it, like, for the first time. So it is.
That's my other personality. That's what you call it.
Yeah, that's man, that you can really get some people with that one, boy. I tell you. You said sometimes you have to laugh, because you've got to laugh about it. Having that side of yourself, being able to laugh about it and being able to have joy in your life is such an awesome thing. When you have a disability and you have things that happen to you, some people embrace that. They go into that, woe is me, this is never going to change. But what, I guess, going back kind of to the question we were talking about, what is it like for you when you know you're having a seizure, and what goes through your mind? Can you kind of just give us kind of an inside thought of what goes through your mind when it happens?
When I know I'm going to fall, it's like, it looks like I'm losing my balance, which I am, but it's like I try to get the person's attention that I'm with by looking at it. But if they're not looking at me, they don't see me, and they don't know that I'm having a seizure until I go down.
Right.
It's like, I got your attention now.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay. I understand. Yeah. So we were kind of talking about this, and I think this is a great topic to talk about. What would you explain to a person that is with you for the first time, like some of your caregivers that you have talked about, have seen you have them. What do you say to them? What do you do when you're about to have a seizure and it happens? What do you tell them?
Like when they come to get like what I'm going to have for the next meal.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I'll go. When I first moved in, I said, well, I have epilepsy, and when I have a seizure, I get a look on my face,
mm-hmm.
and I stop talking for a few seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But one day I was having the bigger seizures,
mm-hmm.
and so I couldn't say anything. So I really scared a couple of caregivers because they saw those. So now when they come and they ask me, I tell them, well, I've been having seizures, and one of them go, okay, I'm leaving. They've learned to joke about it too.
Right. Like, so is it? I mean, is it basically just find a big area and kind of let you be? Just
like when I'm in the recliner, it's like, okay, I'm not going to fall. But when I'm standing, it's like I just try to find an area where if I fall, I'm not going to hit my head on anything, or except for the floor. I know the floor is hard.
My head is harder than the floor, but I'm gonna tell you, I still don't want to crack that dome. I can definitely relate to that. So your thought process is okay. I'm just gonna lay here, let this happen. I'm gonna be all right, and then you just kind of go about your day.
Yeah.
On the bigger ones, is it more of a I'm just gonna go to sleep and kind of let it wear off, and then just go from there, or what happens?
That's the bigger ones when I fall. With the smaller ones, I can still stand and still carry on a conversation, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a thankful side to this, to where you're saying, okay, I have epilepsy, but it's very mild. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a seizure, but I know what to do in case it happens. I inform the staff, I inform, and I think that is the biggest conception. Knowledge is power, because people are afraid of what they don't understand. Like, what I think, when they see it, because you've mentioned the stairs, people you see their feet going by, and you're on the ground and you're thinking, well, there's a nice pair of Nikes, a nice pair of loafers, and people are looking. But some of them are looking because they're scared. Some of them are looking because they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. And some of them want to help, but they're cautious. And it's I get it, but I don't get it, because I can remember, being in the mall. I've told you this story off air. My mom and I were in the mall, and my best friend Bubba was with us, and I had my other friend Travis. Now Travis is 6'2" at that time, and Travis has asthma. So we were walking along, and Bubba's pushing my chair, and all of a sudden, when Bubba had a seizure, he would clap. So he's, hitting the side of my head, and I'm letting it happen because I'm worried about him, and I know he's having a seizure. He falls to the floor, and my mom goes to get him. What scared Travis half to death, he starts having an asthma attack, so mom's got to go get him and sit him down. And it's like, oh God, that whole, I guess that's the thing with me. And kind of, we talked about this too, is the overwhelming thought of, oh God, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? When's it going to? But you're used to it, and
if you know what triggers it, then you just try to stay away from those situations.
So do you know what triggers it?
Yeah. Let's see. If I get stressed about something, if I get too hot.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Heat's definitely a big trigger.
Huh.
It's a big trigger for a lot of people, and so it's stress. And let's see. If I worry too much about something, or getting excited about something.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like a lot of people. Boy, she doesn't have any emotion. Well, no, I'm just staying calm.
You kind of have to
Yeah.
because of. So are flashing lights a thing?
Yeah. I think it's more for other people than for me. But yeah, they do bother me. I
Mm-hmm.
just try not to focus on them
Right, right.
too much.
Well, this is again, it's informative for me because, again, we're helping each other because this knowledge is going out, to letgoradio.net and
Mm-hmm.
to Facebook Live. There are thousands of people that just don't know. Some, if I remember right, Bubba would get this overwhelming cold feeling, and he would say, "Hey, I've got to get somewhere and I've got to sit down."
Mm-hmm.
And 30 seconds later, boom, it would hit. So some say a smell comes over. They get a
That's
certain
what I think.
smell or a
Yeah.
certain taste. It is when this was happening to you, as you were younger, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, were you worried about? Did you have the moments of, oh my God, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? The
When I was a
Any of
kid,
that?
no, I don't think so. It's like, well, when I lived at home,
Mm-hmm.
it's like my family all knew the look on my face.
Mm-hmm.
So, except for my dad. My dad was in the military, so he wasn't at home that much.
Yeah, yeah. I guess we all get used to our own different abilities because it's
Mm-hmm.
it's pieces. I mean, I know you have to take it in pieces, and I commend you for it because you're still doing what you need to do. You're
Mm-hmm.
living your own life to the best that you can, and you've got some freedom.
Yeah.
That I and I don't I wonder, and you're in a epilepsy group, right?
Yeah.
They a lot of them feel trapped, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A
Because
lot of them are
yeah,
really, and I would not like that.
that I have seen and heard stories about, people wanting to drive and,
Mm-hmm.
having a seizure behind the wheel of a car. Whew. I that one, my even talking about it, my brain goes, oh, it hurts for the people. I hurt for the people that this has happened to. It literally, like, it almost chains you to the wall, sort of, like,
Yeah. They
to
don't
where
like to be and so independent. I mean, they don't like to rely on other people.
what have you learned about, to you, kind of the things.
Well, I really haven't talked much because it's like since mine are so mild,
Mm-hmm.
but like I'll give them some encouraging words, like
Mm-hmm.
you can
Mm-hmm.
deal with this.
And I think it to have no control.
Yeah.
That would be, I guess, the scariest part for me, in a sense of, what do I do now? Because I mean, I've always been told, you cannot worry about what you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to epilepsy, the thought of having a seizure and not being able to wake up from it, that is terrifying to me.
Yeah.
I would not. And I know there are medications, and I know there are surgeries that can prevent it, and medical science has come a long way, and I am grateful for that. But it's that whole fear of the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they say, well, you can't fear the unknown. Well, how can you not, when that's hanging over your shoulder? And do you let it hang over your shoulder, or do you try to, live your life the best that you can?
That's it. You just have to live with it and learn to deal with it.
Man, I I really, I mean, yes, thank God your epilepsy is mild, but just that not knowing, it's that whole, man, that whole flip of a switch, and it's like, whew,
That's one reason. I think that's one reason why I just started telling people that are going to be around me a lot what my seizures are like. So then they're not scared of them. Because that's what I think of more than me being scared. It's like, I know what's going to happen.
Do you think, or have you had people not want to talk to you or not want to hang out with you or not want to have a conversation with you because of the epilepsy?
Yeah. In fact,
what do you do in a situation like that?
Well, in fact, it was a lady from church. It's like, she didn't know how to deal with my seizures. And she got kind of, I guess, perturbed with me because I'm going, well, you can't control it, so all you can do is deal with it.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
She didn't like going out with me because if I have a seizure. And I went out with her one time, and I had one at, I was at a store. We were at a store, and I went down. I tried to get her attention, but I went down. Then I got her attention. But she knew, just told everyone, well, it's okay. She'll come out of it in a few minutes. And she was good then, but then it's like afterwards, she really didn't want to go out, take me out anymore because of that.
And it's that fear that I'm talking about. You've accepted what you have. And you know, I'm not sure how hard that is when it comes to epilepsy. I'm going to be honest, because I don't have it. You know, I've accepted my CP and I've accepted the way things are. But to have people actually want to do things out with you without the fear of that awkward moment, you know, because there is an awkwardness to it. I would imagine. I mean, nobody wants to lay on the ground and go, I'll be fine in a minute. You know, I could get that. But in the same sense, if you know, look, it's really not that big a deal.
Yeah, that's what I try to tell her.
I'm not going to knock over everything in the store.
Yeah.
You know, just give me a stuffed animal for a pillow. And you know, you lay down and you go, I was just examining your carpet. I noticed you've got some dirt over here.
That's what I tell people. I was just checking out your carpet.
Your carpet's very soft. I give it a 9.8.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I really admire you because you've come to terms with it, but I don't know how you came to terms with it, because accepting it, even though you don't know when it's going to happen, but you also know what triggers it. So it's
that's why I kind of prepare myself for it.
Yeah. It's kind of that catch-22. I mean, I look at it and I'm like, oh, you know, because and then if you get stressed about it and you start thinking about it, then and that triggers it. I'm like, man, look, I don't want to deal with this. This is, you know, the way it is the way it is. What's, you know, the whole, all of that. I just admire you because you've come to grips with it, but you've also learned to accept it, and it's okay. So you function within your parameters of your life, and it is what it is, no matter what.
That's it. Yeah. And I think a lot of it, I think my parents just kind of dealt with it like that. So as I got older, it's like, okay, this is one of the cards where I was dealt. So
right. What do you think it was like on your parents? What do you think that part was like?
I think that was hard for them. That's why they kind of pampered me. But yeah, well, let's see. My older brother, he used to pull me around by my hair because since I couldn't walk in.
Wow.
This is the one that when I got to public school kept an eye on me.
Jeez.
See,
I can just imagine your brother. Come on, Cindy, let's go. You know, just
yeah. In fact, he used to watch The Lone Ranger, in the morning, and he would get me out of my crib since no one else would watch it with him, but he knew he could get me out and take me to watch it with him. To this day, every time I see The Lone Ranger, I think of him. It's like,
you know, and I hate to say this, but memories like that, you can't help but laugh about it.
No, you have to laugh.
It's those moments that we have, and we cherish that because of, we've already got our disability and the crap that we deal with every day. But I mean, being pulled around by your hair by your brother, you're just like, that's like mine, constantly nagging me, or, flipping me over backwards and leaving me on my back, or sitting on my head, or, it just, the brotherly love, you just don't get brotherly love like that anymore.
And he used to take my candy. Oh, look over there. And he takes.
What would you say, what would be the greatest thing that your parents gave you?
Humor.
I love that. I love that. I think that is the piece of life that we all need, because it's better than any drug that you could ever take.
Oh yeah.
It's better than to make someone laugh, and to be able to go through life with a smile on your face, and the crap that we deal with, daily. It's hard sometimes, but laughter gets you through it. I mean,
you have to be positive about things.
I remember in the mall after Travis calmed down, and Bubba's waking up. I said, "Can we go to the store now that you've had your nap?" And he lay, yeah, I'm good, And Travis was like, oh my God. I was like, please don't pass out, dude. We don't have room for you on the bench, There's a closeness. There are those people that really care, and they see it, and and then there are the fixers, Is there anything I can do? Is there anything I can, that you need? That's the calming part about it, because there are some that just really do care, and then there are some that look at you like you are the grossest, like most contaminated. And again, this is where the humor comes into play too. I was 3 or 4 or 5, and I was in the doctor's office, and I wanted to go crawl over and play in the play area where the boys and stuff were. And my mom said, all right, DJ, I'm going to put you on the floor, but if you get stepped on, don't come crying to me. And this lady, she came in the doctor's office, and she looked at me and my mom like, oh God, how can you let him crawl on the floor? You're so horrible. And I crawled over to her and I said, ma'am, my name's DJ and I have CP, but you can't catch it. And she turned about 12 shades of red and went back to reading her little highlight magazine. And So it's those moments where it is tough. It is hard to say, could you look at me a little bit less condemning, please? I can imagine you being on the floor going, oh, those are nice shoes.
And I used to tell people, well, take a picture, it lasts longer.
And I guess in a situation like that, you kind of got to. Like I said, we've been friends for a long time, and I admire your perseverance, because there is a side of perseverance to this that not a lot of people know about. To go through life normal, so to speak, where if you have a disability, it's unseen, or you don't limp.
Oh yeah. A lot of people.
Or you don't have a vagus nerve stimulator where your voice goes up every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I would look at somebody and go, "It's helium! Shut up!" Just.
Well, and I've come out with a story for my newest scars. I told one of the ladies here that I had to think of a big story for that. I told one of the ladies, because she always picks on me. I'm going,
Mm.
Well, I was telling her, well, you tried to hit me in the throat, got away. And then you tried to hit me in the heart, got away. And then cut my throat and I got away. Because that's what it looks like.
Well, all right, I don't know if I would have went that far, Cindy, but okay.
Well, and then I was telling someone, another lady that, and the lady that I was talking about, she came over, she goes, I didn't know you could tell him that. I said, I told you.
Oh, darn it.
She's always picking on me, so I had to pick on her right back.
There are some moments in life where you go, did she just do that? Like, really? Like, that's the truth. I those moments that you have where it's so funny and you know it's not true and they're looking like, oh my God. Oh my God. And the more you tell them, the more they're like, oh my God. Oh my God. You know, and they're like, let me leave the room. Let me leave the room. You know, that moment of awkwardness is just like, I remember the stories that happen and a lot, so many people, it would be just so simple to say hi. And if you have a question, just ask.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, they can't, they want to say something, but they're like,
yeah.
And I said, don't worry. It was a bungee jumping accident gone horribly wrong. The beginning was smooth. The middle was smooth. The ending was concrete. It's fine. I have spare parts. We have the technology. We can rebuild them. We just ran out of money on the second half. You can't. Yeah, I would say, again, the humor, I can agree with you 100%. I think that does get you through those points where it's like, well, what do I do now? On the days where you're not feeling great, on the days where you're trying to get through, on the days where it's hard, and you're like, I've just got to keep going. I've just got to keep being DJ or Cindy, and I love how you let your light shine through, and people see you for you. That's the one thing I want. That's having you as a guest on this show, and I've wanted to have you on for a while. And I said, let me go ahead and set it up. I said, because I've learned a lot today, just knowing, more about you and learning how you kind of function in day-to-day life. And there is a sense of normalcy. I think really to kind of go about it, everybody has their own normal. And a lot of people will say there's no such thing as normal. If you really look at it, I think each person's normal. They have to kind of figure out. They have to figure out their stride. They have to figure out how they do things, how they work through things. There's some things that trigger them. There's some reasons why they get mad or get sad. But it's our own normal that we have to figure out. It's not society's normal that we have to figure out. It's our own normal that works for us. I mean, you have to figure out what works for you, and I think that is sometimes it's easier said than done, and sometimes it's like, that was going to take me a minute. Let me just come back to it a little later. Could you kind of leave our viewers with an encouraging word, or is there anything you want to share kind of near the end of the show here that you want our viewers to know?
You just have to find humor wherever you can get it. That'll get you through life.
Find humor wherever you can get it. That will get you through life. Who would you say, is there a person that is funniest, that has inspired you? Is there a comedian that you've watched that you...
Yes, Jerry Jewell. She was back, let's see. I think it was back in the 80s where she was really popular. And now there's a new one, and she has cerebral palsy, or she's still around. She has cerebral palsy. And now there's another stand-up comedian, Josh Blue.
Yes.
And he has cerebral palsy.
Yeah, he was.
I love those kind of jokes. It's like, okay, they have the sense of humor.
He was on Last Comic Standing, I believe. He won Last Comic Standing, I think.
Yeah, it's like I hadn't heard about it. Then I saw him I think it was on YouTube. Oh, I love him.
Well, I mean, and really what it comes down to is making the best that you can out of the situation that you're dealt with. I think that that's, because we all have things that we deal with every day. We all have problems that we face. Making the best out of the situation that you have, finding the light in the darkness. You can find, positivity in every negative situation. You just have to look for it. And
yes.
I think not so much applying humor is one thing. I said it before. Humor is the best endorphin you could ever get. Robin Williams said, humor is so much cheaper than therapy. He said,
oh yeah, definitely.
like I talking about, being able to laugh and being able to be funny and just kind of let loose. Robin Williams is the funniest comedian in history.
Yes.
He could play any part, but performing for people with all of the crap that he was dealing with on the inside. When
and you can tell that was going on in his life.
And see, that's where you have to be careful, because I think with Robin, not a lot of people knew he had Parkinson's. He had Lewy body dementia. He was losing his mind at the last part of his life, and yet he was on stage and he could perform for people, and you would go, wow. You would laugh so hard. And he said that's the moment that he realized the endorphin that he got from being a stand-up comedian and performing for people, letting them laugh and taking the pressure off of their current situation is a moment, because there's some scary crap in this world, I'll be honest. And to be able to kind of step back and laugh about it really makes it
easier. Definitely.
We don't get a lot of perks with cerebral palsy. And like I said, going to the front of the line in Busch Gardens and going to the front of the line in Disney World going, that's the one moment I can use that, and daggone it, I'm going to use it. Well, Cindy, I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I'm so glad that you were able to be here. This was great. I have enjoyed having you. Thank you so much for telling your story and making me smile today. This was quite fun. And I'd love to have you back again sometime. We'll work it out. I want to thank all of our radio listeners on www.letgoradio.net. I want to thank our Facebook Live fans that tune in on StreamYard and comment, and please share these shows. Guys, when you share them and get this story out so that other people can know about this wonderful person and just the life that she leads, and to show that just because you have a disability doesn't mean you can't live a full, productive life. Does not mean that you can't do what you want to do. You may have to find a different way to do it. But the bottom line is, if you want to get something done, you get off your butt and you find a way to do it, because you can do anything that's possible if you want it bad enough. Guys, if you want to be a guest on the show, please feel free to email me at carterdj85@gmail.com or the Sportsminion Radio Show at yahoo.com. You can reach me on YouTube at My CP Does Not Define Me, Chairmaster Games, and Worth the Wait Cooking with DJ Carter. You can reach me on Instagram, My CP Does Not Define Me, Twitter, My CP Does Not Define Me at Minion Sports, my blog, carterdj85@wix.com. You can reach me on Facebook at DJ Carter Jr. Please look me up and share your story. I would love to have you on the show. If you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it. We're on every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And also Will's Talk, Get Real on Will's Talk is on every Tuesday at 6 p.m. on Facebook And then, of course, My CP Does Not Define Me is on Facebook Live and www.letgoradio.net. Thank y'all so much for tuning in today. We will see you next week for episode 52 of My CP Does Not Define Me. We will see you next time, guys. Take care. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me. But don't worry, you can catch us again next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on www.letgoradio.net and on Facebook and YouTube at My CP Does Not Define Me. Remember, I'm your host, D to the J with the roll away. And if you can't be good, be bad. But be good at it. We'll see you next week.